GitHub didn't have product market fit on day one. It had it not even on day zero. It had it on day like -30. Being asked to build a company that I'll pay you for, that's like pretty good product market.
Product market fit is
Banging up when I started startups. You're spending time in the wilderness. Even when you have a good product idea and a good market, you still have to fight for that, right?
What year was like the year that you joined GitHub?
I joined in the beginning of 2012, I think.
So I'm interested, and I'm sure a lot of people here will be too, because obviously like the dev tools today that we have are mostly like the AI stuff, and then maybe we have some of like the code review and all this other stuff. What were some of like the popular dev tools back then? Because like GitLens or something like that? I don't know.
What was popular? I mean, not many. Dev tools is like an investable category. Is kind of relatively a new thing.
Yeah.
And I think like GitHub is part of the reason that people think it is now. So there weren't that many like VC-backed tools, right? There was infrastructure like Heroku. ResVamp was probably the best example. The engineer I listened to his kind of example.
Heroku's been around a while.
Heroku's been around quite some time. Yeah, Heroku started 2008, I think. 2000. Cool. We're still going strong. Saw a bus ad for Heroku.
Really?
Just the other day.
I remember deploying one of like my early like middle school PyCon projects on like Heroku.
Yeah, it's great.
And like racking up like a $20 bill, and I was like, mom's candy, bro. $20.
Yeah, Heroku was great. So I mean, still great.
You went through incredible growth, Series A, 10x growth, no managers. Like this has to be.
We had to change that. Yeah, I mean that was like what my job was, right?
Yeah.
Like I had a very thankless job of that, right? So GitHub's a fascinating company. Like I always talk about GitHub. People talk about, you have product market fit, instant product generation. GitHub didn't have product market fit on day one. It had it not even on day zero. It had it on day like -30. Like people were asking the founders who were working in Git, they go, can you please like create a service, we'll pay you for it.
Right.
So like people talk about like what product market fit is, like being asked to build a company that I'll pay you for, that's like pretty good product market.
It's not your product market fit.
Yeah, it's like, please do this. And so they did. And so GitHub never really faced the ordinary challenges that most startups do.
Right.
Every startup, 99% when I started startups, you're spending time in the wilderness. Even when you have a good product idea and a good market, you still have to fight for that, right? GitHub never really did. GitHub's fate as a successful company was very early on, right? Like, and I mean, literally in the beginning.
When were they founded?
Technically 2007. The first public release was like 2008. I think the real growth started around 2009.
Yeah.
GitHub, again, speaking product market fit, GitHub had no organization plan for like 3 years, or 2.5 years. Like you couldn't have an org. There's no org.
I feel like that's how it was kind of like for all of those startups within like the 2005 to maybe 2010 timeframe, where if you had a really unique product, because everything kind of now is, I would say, decently not saturated, but there's some tangent of a solution for everything now.
Yeah.
And but back in like 2005 to 2010 timeframe, from what I've heard, because I was still in preschool or elementary school or something like that, wasn't vibe coding just yet.
Yeah. I feel quite youthful. Thanks for that. It's a great thing.
But it's like if you launch something new, you either, like GitHub, already had someone asking you to make it, or it just instantly took off because people were like, hey, this is a great idea. And nobody else kind of had like spun up like an instant alternative in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I think not dissimilar from some stuff in AI right now.
Right, yeah.
Of course, there wasn't AI coding, so it was harder to replicate that, right? Now, you spin something up, someone can do it the next couple of days. But yeah, I mean, like, so like in that, the little bit of context on that time, right, a few things were happening. One is there was the emergence of like cloud SaaS, right, which was pretty new. The other was mobile, which is tangential to this, but was the other trend that was happening.
Yeah.
The other one was just open source, right? Like GitHub itself helped grow open source, but open source was growing independently. It was like,
how was that distributed?
So before GitHub?
Yeah, like what did you just post?
There was a thing. There was the big thing. Some people here may remember called SourceForge. I don't know if anyone remembers.
Oh no, I know that. That's the place where you think twice about clicking on.
Yeah. Before it looks like.
Do I really need this with the 9 ads and the suggested material?
Yeah. So before it became sort of a domain for malware and ads, that was like where most things were.
Interesting. Well, that's cool.
There were others. A lot of open source was traditionally run on just private servers, right? Like you would spin up a Subversion server or a CDS server, and you just run it, and you had people would just access it that way. The world of like open source development was very different than this was pre-pull request workflow. Most things were done with email patches, right? So the kind of development was very, very different. And open source, the reputation of open source within a lot of organizations was also way different, right? There was a perception that the quality was much lower, for one. How can I trust this is written by, why, it's free. Why would I ever use any of this stuff? And, there were these old arguments in the late 90s around, you probably know this cathedral versus the bazaar concept, right? Like there were people who had to justify the idea of open source even as a thing, which seems absurd now because you wouldn't even think
Anybody ever compare it to communism?
I've heard that there were comparisons of that this is like a communist kind of a communitarian type thing.
Also code.
Yeah, our code. Exactly. No, I mean, actually, the common concept of open source is actually a gift economy, which is traditionally what it was, right? That I gift something to the world in the form of open source, and my expectation when you give a gift is that you don't necessarily have to get anything back, right? Yep. Except perhaps maybe something to do with reputation or whatever. We should talk about a little bit about how that played into why I think GitHub, part of the reason GitHub was a success. But yeah, I mean, to your point, that was a little bit of what the site guys was like at the time.
I'm still very, really curious, like how the hell this organization survived without managers for.
Well, yeah, so it's a good question. So a little bit of context on how GitHub kind of operated. So the GitHub grew very, very slowly, headcount wise, early on. I think by 2011, there were still only maybe 15 people in the company.
2012 was when they grew up really slow.
Yeah, I think that's about right. And even then, it was still pretty, like took off later. The basic idea was we had this concept called open allocation, which is you kind of work out whatever you want. And the idea for a system like this, in theory, is as long as everyone has enough information about what's important in an ideal world, so that's the theory. Everyone will allocate into the correct things, right? Sure. In a small team of everyone with enough information and to use the parlance of our times, high agency or whatever, that actually does work, right? It is very hard to do that as you scale. By the time we had 120 engineers, the system wasn't really incredibly.
128?
120. I think when I started to think it was 120. And so the teams that were functioning at that point, like the team that I came out of, the systems team, we were just a small team of like that kind of worked that way.
Right.
Anyway, so when we were able to maintain, I guess, the kind of things that were absolutely critical to the operation of the company, the systems, ops, product things weren't shipping, right? Because those are just extraordinarily difficult to coordinate, and they just wouldn't work, right? So we had to translate that. And culturally, we had built a very strong culture that didn't want to have managers. Right. So we were very effective at that. So GitHub had a very robust culture of that. And so like a lot of my work for a long time was trying to sort of say, hey, look, here's how managers can make you be all right. It's not an easy task. Cultural change is extraordinarily difficult, right?
Yeah, especially if you've been like a free agent that past 3 years and then somebody comes in, this is your manager. You must report to him every day.
Yeah.